the intention is to go through each Dandelion parameter with in little 5-minute chunks, so that we can easily like get a timestamp and put it on the form, and then people can just like passively to what the parameter is, and then we can have some multimedia on the and have some good discussion here. As far as distractions, I have a bunch of people working on random stuff right now, fixing electricity and stuff, and there's even a rat hanging out.
Wow!
Mate. So we're lots of things happening here, but I think I can be focused. I'll pass it to Jake.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Yeah, intentions. Hammer this out the best we can. Hopefully get a lot of worthwhile discussion and move forward, because I'd really like to see us get down to actual conviction voting, the other parameters for that, so we can get forum posts and move right along. Distractions. My life. Yeah, other than that, everything's good. Sim.
Hello. Intentions. I just would like. I have to leave in half an hour or so, but I just want to see how is going, and if I can help a little bit with that. And distractions. Well, actually, I have to go later. So because I don't have any food, and I went to another village to buy. Septi.
Hey guys, hello, thanks for the patience. Intentions for the call, like always, learning and see what I can bring to the table. No distractions at all. And I'll pass it to Santi.
Thanks, Septimus. Intentions, try to fix those parameters all together and learn from those that I still don't know about. And distractions, now that Sam is leaving and we won't hear the bell from the church, I don't think there's any distraction here. I'll pass it to Tamara.
It's not a church. It's a
intentions. Intentions are. I didn't think I would make it to this call. Actually, I have another commitment, but I don't deep dive. I may be mostly off video and muted and listening in, to be honest. So that's also my distraction. And I'll pass to Olivia.
Hey, intentions just to catch up a little bit, see, yeah, just learn from this call. And I'll pass to Tonga.
Yeah, intentions, discuss about the parameters, and no distraction. I'll pass it to Griff.
Okay, sweet. Well, since Sam has limited time, Sam, do you have any favorite that you want to first?
You are talking about Dandelion voting exclusively today?
Yes, Dandelion voting plus C-stack ratio. I'll name the parameters. So we have support required, minimum quorum, voting duration, vote proposal buffer, vote execution delay, tollgate fee, number of Dandelion instances. Very interesting one. And also C-stack ratio.
I think that the C-stack ratio is something that we should discuss when we talk about the token. Because depending on how much tokens we will have at the end, we need a ratio or another one. So I'd like to freeze it until we have discussed it, at least the bonding curve. What do you think?
Well, the C-stack ratio post is up there, so can't freeze we can't stop the wave, man. But it's out of the bag. but we can leave it for last and say if we don't have time, it isn't really connected to Dandelion. So, but which one would you like to start with?
I think that the discussion on different Dandelion votings is quite interesting, but I think that it's mostly related with the support
And Quorum.
and the quorum. So maybe in order to talk about the support and the quorum, we should talk about these kind of things. Usually, when we talk about different instances of Dandelion voting or voting in general, it's because we have different things to vote on. And for example,
so let me just make it easy for Zeptimus on the timestamp. So we're going to talk about Dandelion instances, number of Dandelion instances. Okay, go for it, Sam.
So the idea is that if we have different things to discuss, it's very different to change a parameter than change a smart contract. And for example, if we want to change some of the parameters of conviction voting, we may want a different quorum and support than for changing conviction voting itself. And you can see that as when you want to vote on a constitution, when you want to change a constitution, you have to have a lot of support in the parliament instead of just changing a regular law. I don't know. I think that it will be interesting. It is complicated things at the same time, but it's a design that it's present in many DAOs that use a very high quorum and support in order to change the smart contracts, but then they have less requirements for changing the parameters.
Yeah. Let me give some background. So Dandelion voting is an application in our DAO. So our DAO is a bunch of token holders, right? Humans make up a DAO. Isn't that crazy? Humans make up a DAO. And these humans hold tokens, and these tokens give them authority in the interactions of the shared resources that the DAO holds. Now, those shared resources are generally in a vault somewhere, and there's a lot of different permissions that get to, and roles that get to change things, right? For instance, the parameter for, let's say, the exit tribute. How high should the exit tribute be? Maybe we set it at 5%, and then we want to say, actually, we need it to be 20%, right? There will be a role that says this role can change that parameter. And that role will be controlled by a Dandelion voting instance. And so this Dandelion voting instance will have its own support required. It'll have its own quorum, and it'll have its own vote duration. It'll have its own every this is the voting requirements. Really, a Dandelion voting app, you could say, is like, this is the requirements of consensus that are required for a yes vote to be valid, right? And so we can have multiple requirements for different parameters. The one that Sem is talking about that's probably really crazy is like, hey, let's upgrade the conviction voting app. Let's totally change the smart contracts that are governing how we spend funds. That's a pretty migrate, upgrade this app. Those are pretty critical things, and that should have probably a high support required and maybe a high quorum. Whereas maybe changing the exit tribute, that's not as wild. Maybe it can have a lower quorum, and maybe it has a higher support required. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe it has a higher vote duration or a lower vote duration. And the real question is, and the question that we're posing here is, how many different options do we want? You have to worry about how many sets of rules do we want to play with? And do we want to categorize things into low, medium, high, or just low and high? Or do we want to really dig down and give every single one its own little specialized design idea? that's really the question that we have to ask, because we can set the Dandelion voting app parameters for every individual permission. And how many permissions do you think there are, Sam? 20?
I'm not sure, but the permissions are not all changing things. There are permissions in order to, for example, buy on the bonding curve, which will be available for anyone can buy in the bonding curve. So it's not that much. I mean, at the end, the change permissions is the thing that we should be able to vote. And as I was saying, it is like permissions and changing or migrating the DAO. I don't know if I understood the question.
Well, anyway, sorry, I'm gonna jump in here because we got about 5 minutes already over on that. But just the prioritizing, what do we want out of this? How many parameters and whatnot going forward? I mean, how complicated do we want to make this? Concentrating perhaps on just a couple of the steps as of right now to really get something hammered out, so we have something to further dive into just with that. I mean, we don't want to turn the forum into like 20 different deep dives just on support required and minimum quorum because we could. We don't want to do that. But I do want to encourage people to like focus on these few things we've brought up and then concentrate on that in the forum, so we have some discussion moving ahead to better set parameters moving forward. And then with that, because these things tie in together, we could get right into voting duration again because of the necessity of perhaps.
I did
cover
see
that. You're
Sean,
happy with vote duration?
I did just see Sean.
Yeah, I'll say one last point. I like what you're saying too, Jake. But so what I want to get to, based on what I'm hearing, is I want to see all those parameters because essentially we have a bucket of parameters, like we have 20, and then we have to say, okay, here's a Dandelion instance that has access to these 5 parameters, and then here's another one that has access to these 7 parameters, and then here's 10 parameters that are, or 5 are open, and so we'll have 2 or 3 or 4 sounds like Dandelion instances, maybe 1, I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to jump to the forums right now. I like what you're saying, Jake. Let's keep moving, because what I got out of this is I now understand that forum post, so I can go and add some thoughts on there. So I think that's the goal of this call, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a post on there that's pursuing this sort of, let's list out all the parameters and see them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think
and that
it is important also to pay really a lot of attention to how each instance is going to be used, because it shouldn't be allowed to pick at the time of the vote which we are going to use. It is what you were talking, Griff. I think that to say which permissions each instance gets, because choosing at the time of making the vote can be very convenient for the one who makes the vote.
Yeah, and that's not really an option for most of these things, that you have to set it in advance. And actually, there will be one master Dandelion DAO that can set permissions to things that are fucking crazy, like just minting the TEC token. There's permissions that we're going to say no one can do, except there'll be one Dandelion DAO that can set those permissions. So it's going to be wild. But yeah, like Jake said, we got to move on. Sem, do you want to pick the next one? No? Okay, let's just go from the top then. Support required can probably be pretty fast. Does anyone want to present? I guess I did the blog post. So support required is super quick. It's super easy. How many people that vote need to vote yes for something to pass? So what's interesting here is, usually people just think, 51% success rate. But honestly, do we really want half the people disagreeing with some of our decisions? That's a little wild. And what I've seen from a lot of DAO votes is that a lot of times it's like 99%. Everyone just agrees. Some of them are just like, we need to do it. So the real question is, what are contentious issues that we can have differences within our community and agree to go forward with a difference of opinion, even if a certain percentage of people say this is a bad idea or it shouldn't happen. And then which ones do we want to have like really high barriers where the people who vote, like over 80% need to say yes. And I think we should be open to some of these high things. Does anyone have any thoughts on support required?
Well, I'd just like to add that the quorum really fits into a lot of that as well. If we need something with a lot of conviction, we should probably have something with a high quorum and a long vote duration, and vice versa. With the lesser of the two evils, obviously. I think a lot of that will just kind of play itself out as it comes up. We're going to know, looking at proposals, especially as we get into this, we can actually then start having a kind of an average parameters. We'll understand what does this big one and what does this little one, kind of work from there.
I think the vote duration, which is another parameter, but I think that it should be the same for any instance, because people need time, even if people need time to vote. So it's not because it's less quorum.
But what about support required?
Yeah, let's go for that. If we are going to have the same support required than quorum for everything, because we want that high, then we just need one instance of Dandelion voting. I think that you are saying that we can have a very high support required, but then different quorum, right, Griff?
Yeah. And Tamara, you had something to say on the support required?
Yeah, no, I'd be super interested actually to understand this from like an academic point of view, honestly, because what you're saying is true. If it's at 50%, then, it's really tight, I guess, 50% of the community disagrees. But also if it's too high, and 60% of the community feels like they didn't, I don't know, there's some balance there actually to strike. If the majority, being more than 50% want something and they don't get it, there's actually some disadvantages there as well.
Actually, in the post for support required, in a reply, Griff got a great response from, hold on a second. Phil H. I don't know, but he brought up a great point about, if you have a higher support required and then the trading off a majority of ordinary decisions. If you can go to that post and look at his response, it's fantastic.
I am.
And then the approach to a supermajority is to do smaller stakeholder groups and then let them hash that out. It's actually a really great response to what potentially could, work really well, given the fact of what it's like having a 60 to an 80% turnout, versus like Griff said with the 51 and 49. Which is just, a rule of majority, and then everybody, half the group's out, So if you have it broke down into smaller groups that make up a larger group, more people are represented. And then you'd have a longer duration, perhaps, to actually see how it works out. My 2 cents.
Yeah, really, really interesting post. Phil's a great guy. We should give him praise for that. Well, let's move on to quorum. Because I feel like quorum is actually more important than support required. Like support required just says of the people who voted, how many voted yes, and that's how many need to be voting yes to actually pass something. But quorum says how many people should vote. And in DAOs, voter apathy is a real thing, like hardcore. So quorum's like a really interesting discussion because at some point, we do want things to pass. And I think quorum is, there are some things that we need to be able to change. And if we have too high a quorum, and then we end up with a lot of people with a lot of tokens that don't vote, then we'll have a problem. We won't be able to change anything. But if we have too low of a quorum, then we have people who, like maybe just a small group of people could pass a proposal relatively that under the guise where no one's paying attention. So it's quite the balance. Does anyone have any questions about what quorum means? Maybe it's not fully defined, or any thoughts about quorum?
Yeah, I agree that it is more important than support required.
I think we definitely have to have more than one quorum for different things. I don't know if 2 or 3, but just one instance of quorum I don't think it's correct. There's decisions that can be moved forward with the low quorum, but there's others that are going to need bigger amount of quorum.
Cool. Well, if there's no other thoughts on quorum, I mean, it's a pretty big. I think that will discussion, and we can move.
Any amount that you think that will be interesting? I think that.
Well, since we have the second, let's just have everyone bullshit. Why not? You first, Sean.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say that my understanding of quorum is I don't understand it. It's not concrete in my head. So, is there a simple equation that's like quorum is quorum the number of people that show up to a vote? Is that what it is?
The number of tokens that have to vote for the vote to be valid and pass. So the percentage, it's usually a percentage of the total supply. So
that,
if the
quorum that have to vote in either direction. So it's and then that's where the support comes in. It's like out of the tokens that voted, what's the percentage that vote to approve?
Yeah,
okay.
It's a very interesting dynamic because oftentimes if you don't want something to pass, it's better to not vote than to vote no.
Wow.
Because then it doesn't reach quorum.
Super interesting.
Yeah, it could be really front run to some extent, because you got to be careful of that frequency.
So
in DAO, very common that not voting is like the default, and it just slows things down.
Yeah, my question is on the modeling piece. Do we have so this would fall under conviction voting, is that right?
No, this is actually conviction voting has its own very unique thing. This is the Dandelion voting. So this is voting for changing parameters like, oh, we want to change the exit tribute to be 20%, or we want to upgrade our smart contract, or oh my God, this person lost their keys and they're a valuable member. We want to mint them new tokens and burn their old tokens at a new address, right? The DAO could actually do that. So we have to really consider a lot of random possibilities that are not funding related.
That's great. Okay. I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
I would be interested at some point to know how is the process. If that happens, how the DAO does that, but this is not for this talk, I guess. And if I would say a random quorum number, I would say 25.
25%?
Yeah, for most decisions. Not. I think, as Santi said, maybe it's better to have 2 at least, but for most decisions, yeah, 25.
Does anyone know if this is modeled somewhere in CAD?
I haven't seen.
There is an important thing that I have been reviewing in the contract of Dandelion voting, and quorum is only yes votes over the total supply. So if you vote no, that doesn't count into the quorum. The quorum is the yes vote.
For Dandelion voting?
Yeah, I don't know how Aragon.
That's a nice upgrade.
I don't know how Aragon voting is, but for Dandelion voting, that I can share with you the line, but it's clear.
That's really valuable. That's really valuable to know. I did not know that. That's a good upgrade.
Okay.
Okay, but actually we should keep moving. I'm sorry, we lost our time for the random popcorn. So
No,
next
it's
is
okay.
vote
It's
duration.
actually, you're doing all right. You're doing just fine. So, but yeah, if we walk from quorum and what do you want to do next? You want to go down the line or
Vote duration.
vote duration?
Yeah, vote durations. I mean, these are the main three, right? How many yes votes are required? How many people are required to vote? And well, like what percentage of total token? We keep saying people, but we got to remember this is plutocracy for the win. Okay, we're all in, like it is what it is. It's not quite, it is plutocracy, but at the same time, we're stacking the deck with altruistic people up front. So the next one is vote duration. And yeah, Tonga wrote the vote duration. So if you want to give...
I'm sorry, because it really seems really weird what Sam said to me, that only the yes votes count, because why is it not support required instead of quorum? That is
what it does is it makes quorum more important, and it gets rid of that problem that I just mentioned, which was that people will vote. It's better to not vote than to vote no sometimes, and that actually creates poor signal, right? In that situation, people who want to have an opinion and express their opinion become quiet to them. And it's not preferable. It's much better to have it the way that Sam just mentioned, where no votes don't count in any positive direction for the proposal. If you vote, you don't want to vote no and have that help the proposal. That shouldn't be a situation. You should be able to vote no and know that you're actually hurting the proposal.
Yeah, so in this case, no votes will not increase the quorum. They'll only decrease the support.
Yes, exactly, which is great. Nice upgrade. I'll probably give it to Luke on that one. Luke is really good at this stuff. But vote duration. So vote duration. How much time are votes open? So vote duration is an interesting one because the vote duration is always the maximum amount of time people have to vote. If there's huge voter turnout and the support required, let's say it's just 51%, and 51% of all tokens signal yes, we don't have to wait till the end. It just flips, right, Sam? I'm pretty sure that's the case, unless Dandelion voting changed that.
I was checking also the normal voting, and I think that it is already in Aragon. Sorry, I was in another. I don't know
That's
what.
fine. We're talking vote duration now.
Yeah, I know. And which is the question?
If let's say support required is 51%, and 51% of the tokens vote yes, then the vote it's over, right? It just switches.
Yeah, that's in the normal voting, but in Dandelion voting, you still have to wait until the end.
Okay, so in Dandelion voting, you have to wait till the end. Thank you. And is there a can you change your votes in Dandelion voting or no?
No, once you have voted one thing, because your tokens are locked. If you have voted yes, for example, you cannot change the vote.
And this is something that's worth mentioning in voting, is that generally with Dandelion voting, everyone is highly incentivized to vote at the last. Because when you vote yes, your tokens are locked, which means you cannot exchange them in the bonding curve. So when you vote yes in Dandelion voting for anything, you're stuck. Can you vote yes on other Dandelion votes?
Yes.
So you can continue to vote.
Actually, each instance of Dandelion voting can only handle one vote per time. So
yeah,
you cannot.
We'll get to that part.
Yeah. So you can vote on other things, but on other instances of Dandelion voting, if there are any other votes on there.
So if a person has
Side note.
tokens,
Go
if someone
ahead,
has
Lily.
tokens locked in Dandelion, could they vote for conviction voting as well?
Yes. What they cannot do is to convert them in the bonding curve, because when they are locked, they cannot be transferred or converted.
Type question here. Would it be easily feasible to incentivize voting and participation?
Oh yeah, it's very easy.
Okay.
How will you do it?
I mean, Badger DAO just gave an airdrop to everyone who ever voted sushi, everyone who like a bunch in one hive.
I mean,
in one hive, if you
yeah.
voted on a one hive proposal, someone just gave you an airdrop. We can do it.
That's good.
And that's really, that can't be understated, because that was so cool.
Yeah, that's super cool.
I mean, I got a stimulus check from Uniswap.
Yes, but vote duration. So now the question is like, how short is too short, and how long is too long? Should we have month-long votes for things? Should we have 3 days? For me, is the minimum of any vote that we should do for vote duration. What are your guys' thoughts?
I mean,
I think it's gotta be between 3 days and 1 week, because someone may be engaged in some task in real life, and he may be engaged for a couple, 3 days, 4 days. So if we get 1 weekend, he might be able to, take the time to go over whatever is being decided, read about it, and finally vote. But that should be the top. From my personal opinion, more than 7 days is already too much.
I would just like it to be consistent. So whatever we pick, that's it. And it just doesn't change. It's whatever it is, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever it is, that's it. So that way we just have a hard line there and always stable.
Yeah, consistency sounds good to me, and 3 days to 1 week also sounds great. It covers the weekend, so if someone puts something on Friday, it's still available on Monday. And the week, I think that's completely fair. If someone can't make it to a vote over the course of a whole week, well, that's fine. They missed that vote. There's the whole rest of the community. So I think sounds good to me.
Yeah, the one thing I do think there are some things that might need multiple weeks, specifically smart contract upgrades. Like some things, people need, if like, for instance, if we have some smart contract auditors in our DAO, maybe they might want to review the changes themselves, and that just takes time to do. So it might be good for some things to have really long durations that really should be considered and thought about. But I also really like
pretty specific, though. I mean,
yeah,
that seems really technical. I don't think that'd be hard to do.
Okay.
It's also a double. It can also be a problem, because if you have a book, for example, in the smart contract, and you want to change that, it also takes 1 week or 2 or whatever. And I think that there is no way to fix that. I mean, we still need long times in order to change big things like smart contracts. But for the people who knows that there is this book, having to wait 1 month in order to upgrade the smart contract, it's like a lot. For example, we had something like this in OneHive, and the commission voting was frozen because there was a misconfiguration during 1 week and a half or something like that. Maybe, I don't know how much it was, but it was a lot of time. And this is because the Dandelion voting was configured with long, like 1 week or so. Maybe it's 10 days, because it's not only the time that you are voting, but you have to sum up the execution delay. And the thing is that if it takes
and the vote proposal
that time, yeah, preparing the vote because it's also, you have to be sure what you are going to propose. It takes time. The time duration, the duration of the vote, and also the execution delay, it adds up, and it's time that the attacker has to see if it can. We hopefully will have a kill switch, in order to stop anything. But it's if imagine that there is a bug in the DAO, and we kind of froze the DAO during a certain amount of time before the people decides to upgrade it or fix the bug. But that time is time that the DAO is frozen. So that's also important, not to do 1 month because we are changing the smart contract.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid point, and it also touched on something that's like a Dandelion DAO will need to choose a DAO or some multi-sig that will probably have power to stop the bonding curve for those kinds of situations, and that's another decision that should have its own support required, its own quorum required, and its own vote duration. And so many decisions have to be decided by this Dandelion DAO that are really complex, and you don't have to. It's really like insurance stuff, right? Foundational level stuff. I want to keep going though. Vote proposal buffer. So vote proposal buffer is kind of a short one, I think. It's just how many hours after you propose is it able to be voted on. That's right, Sam, right?
How many hours has to pass between one vote finishes and the other starts? I think that's the. I'm not sure. I can look for the documentation.
No, you're right. I found that in the code the other day because Tamara wrote this one, and it was I wasn't sure what it was, but yeah, it's so you can only do one vote at a time, and Tamara wrote a really good forum post actually about this of like, okay, so what does this mean? If vote proposal buffer is 1 week, that means we can only do 50 votes a year, right? Or 52. If vote proposal buffer is 8 hours, that means over the time. So it's an interesting parameter. I'm not sure of its value though.
Why is it 1 vote at a time?
You got any ideas, Sam?
Because you have your vote, your tokens process.
There is 1 vote at the time because it resembles Moloch, and in Moloch there is just 1 vote, and it has to, because people can exit at any moment. So you want to vote one thing after the other, and in case that people decides to go one path and you don't want to go that path, you can exit the DAO. And I don't know. I think that having some hours there, it's okay. I don't know if it is something really important.
Yeah. Does anyone have a thought on this?
Just a clarification. Sorry, go ahead.
Only when there is 2 decisions that's gotta be made. That's the only moment I see there might be a critical parameter. If we need to do one thing after, or decide about something right after the decision of the first one is taken, and we gotta do it fast, that parameter may be an issue.
Olivia?
What if there is a spam vote? Like if someone submits something that it's not relevant, and then nobody else can propose anything after?
That's a very important thing. And this is why we have the Tollgate Fee, because anyone can send a vote, but if it's a spammy, they are probably paying a certain amount of money in order to create the vote. It's the mechanism that we have. Moloch DAO, instead of having a tollgate, they have a delay on how it is called. You lend some money to the DAO and block it there, and then you can recover it. But we are using a mechanism that you are donating to the DAO in order to vote.
In Moloch, you put down a deposit of 10 ether, and then the person who clicks execute gets 0.1 ether, and you get the 9.9. So it's like they're paying people to execute the votes after the delay. But yeah, so I think that's a really important point, Livia, that Tollgate is proposal buffer, and I didn't put that together. Tonga?
Yeah, there will be also not only people with the intention of spamming, but also maybe there is different criteria to which votes are more important to do sooner. So people might be on a race after each vote finishes. So yeah, I don't know what to say about it.
Well, I think we should keep going. You have a couple vote execution delay.
One quick question here, just to clarify: is Dandelion voting only going to be accessible for the hackers, or is going to be open for everyone?
It's open for everyone. There is an interface, and anyone can create a. I mean, probably the complex votes can only be done using the command line, but because usually when you want to create a vote, you want to do many things just in once, like do that and that and that and that and that, and you vote yes or no, because you have just 1 week in order to. Well, you have just one thing. If you want to do many things in all at once, you can write everything that you want.
If you want to change the exit tribute, you can use the UI and go through and change the exit tribute and vote on that. If you want to upgrade to the augmented bonding curve and conviction voting, there's a lot of things that has to be done, and only a super hacker can do that. So.
Actually, for upgrading, it's also a button, but there may be some things that there is not an interface for doing. But if it's something that we find valuable, we can create that interface. It's not that difficult to add that interface, that button somewhere, because it's something that everybody should be able to propose.
Okay, I want to keep us moving though, because we have a couple to talk about still. Vote execution delay. So this is just after a vote passes, in a Dandelion DAO, time to give for people to sell. If they're like, this thing happens, I want out. And this is really valuable for us curve as well, because if a vote that everyone thinks is going to fail at the last minute passes, it's like, whoa, especially in a system like ours where you have a bonding curve that anyone could buy a lot of these tokens. Although, wait, with Dandelion DAO, you have to have those tokens before the vote, right? Before the vote's created?
You have to have those, yeah, but you can create the vote. You can buy the tokens, create the vote, at the last moment vote, and the vote passes. But your tokens are blocked, and you have that execution delay that is the parameter that we are talking right now, in which people, before the vote is executed, can use the bonding curve or redemptions in order to exit the DAO, like selling the tokens.
And I think this is one of the coolest fucking features in Dandelion voting, because this holds the governance accountable to the market. So if we get to actually, the people who vote yes If you disagree, you can, when the vote turns yes, you can sell your tokens and they lose money. That's really cool. Just imagine if you're a and you could make them lose money. How cool would that be? This is actually the politics that Common Stack is trying to create. We'll see if it's like, dystopian future, but it also has potential to keep people accountable for their decisions and less corruptible. So because they're accountable to, it's harder to bribe someone if they lose money, if they make a bad decision. So this execution delay needs to be long enough for people to exit and be aware of decisions.
And I think that in our design it's a bit different because we have locked tokens. So people who were invested in the beginning, the hatchers, also lose money if something goes wrong. In original Dandelion, in original Moloch, it wasn't like that. I don't know if I don't think that there is a easy solution for that.
Well, the easy solution is we make sure that the people who have a lot of tokens get them for cheap, right? Because they're vested, they're taking this risk, and now they should, if they don't vote no on these things that are bad decisions, then they should lose, right? Because they're not paying attention. Any other thoughts on vote execution delay? I like 4 days, honestly, something like that. Give people time to hold the voters accountable.
Be careful with that because it sums up to the voting duration. So in order to execute a vote, you have to prepare the vote, wait, and execute it. So maybe 4 days is excessive, and 2 days is okay.
Sam recently had a negative experience with this. You can tell. He's got some trauma. He's got a little PTSD as well,
PTSD.
It's a real thing, dude. This will be in the books, I promise. Okay, it's a real thing. I have it. I have it real bad. Okay, we got to keep going though. Let's move to Tollgate Fee. Tollgate Fee is really interesting too because this is in Dandelion DAO the way that we allow permissionlessness and avoid spamming is by making there be a fee that you have to pay to actually propose a vote. And I think Sean, you wrote this, right?
Yeah, I wrote this one, and I probably I don't think I had a very good understanding of it, but I took a crack at it. So I definitely encourage people to check out that forum post and clarify what I might have gotten a little bit wrong in there. And yeah, so I was just kind of reading a little bit about it, and I think I might have focused a bit too much on this differentiation between like outside influence and inside influence, because I think that was a question that you and Jake put together is should this fee only be applied to sort of outsiders or people who don't have like C-stack tokens or tech tokens, or should it be applied to everyone? And for me, I really like this idea of sort of it's like a resistance parameter on outside influence. Like, so we can have votes that are open to the public, but if those people, for whoever's not sort of part of the hatch, they have to pay that fee. So, or it could be applied to everyone. But yeah, so it's like a spam resistance. I think it's a really cool parameter. It adds some like fault tolerance, but it's also, I noticed, it's a non-audited contract, so it seems kind of new and like it hasn't been deployed in a lot of places. But I have a lot to learn about it, so I'm wondering if what do you guys think, or maybe Sam, do you have some experience with this, or?
Yeah, and where does the Tollgate Fee go, Sam?
Oh,
is that
yeah.
another year that we get to choose?
Well,
Yeah, I was
actually,
wondering that.
So the Tollgate, how we have it in one hive is that you are not paying for you are paying for vote, but you can recover it with conviction voting. For example, we at the beginning we had, if you want to create a Dandelion vote, you have to pay 100 honey, and it's a lot of money. So nobody wanted to pay it, but yeah, you pay it, and then you ask conviction voting to recover the money. So it's
Just so you guys know, 100 honey is $20,000.
at the moment it was 1,000.
Yeah, so 100,000 to make it. Oops. I think our Tollgate fees currency.
By the way, it has to be a high. We can have different things. If we go with the Tollgate, it's something that it can be stipulated in the internal token. Well, in TEC if we want, but the problem is that with TEC, if we go with TEC, the people at the beginning will have locked TEC that cannot go to the funding pool. So we can use TEC or we can use DAI, and if we use DAI, only people with DAI with money can participate, can propose votes, which is not fair either. I don't see. I don't know.
I disagree with that. I think it is fair to have it be DAI, and because people can get DAI. If someone has a really good vote, like they can go talk to people who have money. The voting tokens are money. There is funds here, and if someone has a good vote, like if it's $20,000, that's a. But if it's $100, $1,000, like they can go talk to a bunch of people who have a lot of tokens now, and they'd say, "Yeah, I'll loan you $1,000, and I'll request the money back from conviction voting."
Yeah, we can have that expectation that you can recover the tokens that you have used in order to vote. And I like that other mechanism that you were saying at YGG about, because you have CSTK tokens, you can vote. It's not Tollgate, it's another application. I think that it's called Token Oracle or something like that, which if you have CSTK tokens and a certain amount of CSTK tokens, you could also create the vote. So maybe we could, if we want, restrict the creation of votes to the trusted seed.
Hey, we're running out of time before the next one. Before we go, what?
Oh, that's it. No, that was the last one.
Okay, well, because we're not going to do CSTAT. Anyways, we're gonna actually try and plan a call on Friday to just talk about impact hours.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Sean, will you be a part of that?
Yeah, I hope so. Yep, I think I should be able to make it. Yep.
And then I'd really like to also plan another weekend sesh for trying to put more to the forum on conviction voting itself.
Okay,
I'm definitely down for
demos for conviction.
So there'll be more throughout the week. I'll get stuff in the general on Discord, and we'll go from there.
And one more thing,
Thanks for coming, everybody.
I'm gonna try to be putting together Sem and I were talking about this, and we're gonna be doing the modeling in the Friday lab sessions. So it's gonna be kind of an introductory to modeling the hatch this Friday, and then we're gonna go deeper the following week, and we're gonna try to incorporate the impact hours in the following weeks. So that'll be a good space. We can get our Jupyter notebooks open and start modeling some of this stuff. And so the state that I'm in now is me personally, I'm still learning like what's been done and what's all out there. So if anyone has sort of resources that they can shoot me, and then I can compile those and we can all go through it all for Friday.
I have so many YGG. You need to hunt me down. I'm
Okay.
sorry. It's like calls after calls, and I just forget.
I'll
but
hunt you down.
hunt me.
Okay.
I'm going to.
Please.
Bye, guys.
Hey, yeah.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Thank you. And hopefully at 3 o'clock Europe time on Friday, if you can make it, YGG.
Okay, I think that's super early for me, but I'll be there.
Okay. Wow, amazing. Okay, well, we'll coordinate with you.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Sounds good.